Hello. This is going to be a big file, right? We're going to upload. So if you notice like some of these pages we don't write on, you don't have to upload pages we don't write on. So you're going to upload your notes from 3.4 and 3.5 to a single document. So this one, we took some notes, right? And then we're going to do question 9, 12 through 14, 18, 22, 23, 25, and 26 in section 3.4. Okay? Then we're going to switch and make sure we take pictures of our notes from 3.5, and we will do these questions. So it seems like a lot for one day, but we didn't do a discussion question, and also I think symmetry is pretty straightforward. A lot of students have had experience with that. So depending on your class, I think most classes I went over question number 9, we said we have to do this part first. So we reflect over the y-axis. So if B was here, now it's there. If A is here, now it's there. D is here, now it's there. And C is here, now it's there. So that's how I figured out where would this go if I reflected it over the y. I have to do that first, and then I have to move 7 to the right. 7 is in the x, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Everybody moves 7 to the right. Now that's what he did wrong. He must have gone in the wrong order. So it looks like he went 7 to the right, and then still didn't reflect over the y. He just did something in the right order, or he just went 7 to the right and then scooted it up. He didn't reflect. Interesting, right? Okay, so now we'll do 12 through 14. All right, so depending on the class, we talked about number 12. So let's kind of just walk through some notes depending on the class. We said, write the 2 rigid motions. So most students thought maybe I translated and then reflected. So that's scoot and flip, right? So to get from here, actually, this is my original shape. From here to there, I could have scooted it over, right? Scooted it over and then flipped it over. Scooted it and flipped it. Now, some students said I could have flipped it. And then scooted it. And that would have been fine too. Now we can also figure this out with our coordinates. So notice here, if I scooted it 6, this first coordinate k was 2, -1, 2, -1, and my new coordinate here is -4, -1. So notice that's this rule when I subtract 6 from the x. Now you can kind of discover how we did this back when we did reflections. We see that the x is the same, right? But I'm looking for the midpoint between -1 and 3. So I'm looking for the midpoint between -1 and 3. So I can use that little midpoint formula. And I get the number 1. So this also confirms what we thought. It looks like they flipped it over this line, which since it's parallel to the x-axis would be called y is equal to 1. Lines parallel to the x-axis are y equal. Cool. All right, so now let's take a look at number 13. It says, given the coordinates A, B, and C, determine the coordinates of the vertices of the image for each glide reflection. Suppose that P is the equation x minus 3 and Q is the line y equals 6. R is the equation y equal -2. Okay, so I think I suggested to some students we're going to need graph paper. So you can kind of use this looks like I'm going to fall off, but I'm going to use this. It's already graph paper laying there, so I'm going to try to use this. It won't be perfect, but I'll give it a try. So it says A is 6, negative 4. So A is 6, negative 4. That's A. B is 3, 8. So I keep going 6, 7, 8. So that would be B is 6, 8, or 3, 8. And C is negative 7, positive 9. So negative 6, negative 7, positive 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so it's right about there. So that's why I kind of hesitated. I was like, ooh, it's not perfect. So but here's my triangle. Okay. Now it says, determine the coordinates of the vertices of the new one. Suppose P, Q, and R is each a different equation. So I first want to reflect it over the y-axis. So when I reflect over the y-axis, again, here's A. That would be, instead of 6, negative 2, it would be negative 6, negative 2. So that matches our rule. A reflection over the y-axis has the following rule. If there's a coordinate given, like 6, negative 2, the new coordinate should land at negative 6, negative 2. So our notes say, follow the rule, x stays the same, or x changes sign and y stays the same. That's what the rule says in our notes. So here's this new location of A. Now B would be the same. So following the same rule. Okay, so I've got some room here because it looks like I'm not doing 19 and 20. So A. I follow this rule. X and Y are in the same locations, but X changes sign. So X changes sign and Y stays the same. Now it says, translate it two down. So do nothing. It says do nothing to the x. So don't do anything to the x. And then go down 2. So I really just am following these rules in my notes. I don't really have to graph it. So what are the rules of my notes? Well, I can literally, whatever my coordinate is, I keep x the same, and the y I just subtract. So my coordinate is, and you're like, well, they're looking for the first y. So remember, this is just kind of in between before it's met its final place. So I'm still going to call this one A prime, B prime, C prime. And that's my answer. All right, let's do another one. X-axis. Well, let's think about this. If I flipped over the x-axis, then instead of being at 6, 2, 6, negative 2, I would be at 6, positive 2 if I flipped over the x-axis. So if I look at my notes and I flip over the x-axis, reflect x-axis, instead of the coordinate 6, negative 2, I'm at 6, positive 2. So that's why my notes say the rule is the x stays the same and the y changes sign. So we're going to do that first. And I'm going to recopy these same coordinates. So the x stays the same, and the y stays, change signs. The x stays the same and the y changes sign. The x stays the same and the y changes sign. Okay, so I've performed this first rule. Now it's asking me to translate 4. So that is the rule where I add 4 to the x, but don't do anything to the y. So I could think of that as just y plus 0, or just y. Nothing changes in the y. So add 4, but add nothing. Add 4, but add nothing. Add 4, but add nothing. So my new coordinate is 10, 4. 7, negative 8. Negative 3, negative 9. Nice job. Check out the next video for question 18.